In the blistering heat of the Arizona desert, where the sun scorched the earth like an unrelenting enemy, Nita stood alone at the edge of her small adobe home, her dark eyes fixed on the horizon. The wind whipped through her long black hair, carrying whispers of the past memories of her husband, taken too soon by a fever that no medicine could cure. She was Apache, a widow at 28, her spirit as fierce as the canyons that cradled her people. On this day, as a lone rider approached on a dusty horse, Nita's hand instinctively reached for the knife hidden in her belt. Strangers in these parts often brought trouble, and she had learned the hard way that trust was a luxury she could no longer afford. The rider was a cowboy, tall and weathered, his hat pulled low over eyes that seemed to hold the vastness of the plains. He dismounted with a grace that belied his rough appearance, his boots kicking up red dust as he approached. "Ma'am," he said, his voice gravelly but kind, tipping his hat. "Name's Jack Harlan. I saw smoke from your fire last night. Figured you might need a hand with that busted fence I passed on the way in." Nita studied him, her heart pounding. Men like him, white cowboys with their guns and their claims on the land, had always looked at her with hunger. Not for her soul, but for her body, a conquest in a world that saw her people as relics. She straightened her shoulders, her voice steady. "I don't need help from the likes of you. Ride on." But Jack didn't ride on. He lingered, offering to fix the fence without asking for payment, his hands calloused from years of hard labor. Nita watched from afar, suspicious. Her husband, Chado, had been her protector, a warrior who taught her to read the stars and hunt with precision. Since his death 2 years ago, she had fended for herself, tending a small plot of corn and beans, trading hides in the nearby town where whispers followed her like shadows. Apache widow, they'd say, their eyes lingering too long. Jack's presence stirred old fears. Why else would a man like him come to an isolated homestead if not for something more primal? As days turned into a week, Jack returned each morning. He mended the fence, then helped reinforce the roof against the coming monsoons. Nita kept her distance at first, but curiosity gnawed at her. He spoke little, but when he did, it was of the land the way the cacti bloomed after rain, or how the coyotes sang at dusk. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in fiery oranges, he shared a meal she offered reluctantly, cornbread and stewed rabbit. "Lost my wife to childbirth 5 years back," he confessed, staring into the fire. "Raised our boy alone till he took to the rails. This life's lonely, ain't it?" Nita nodded, her guard cracking just a fraction. For the first in months, she felt seen, not as a widow to pity or desire, but as a person with her own scars. Yet doubt festered. Jack's glances, the way his hand brushed hers when passing a tulip, all felt too familiar. Stories from her elders echoed in her mind, white men who promised the moon but took everything in return. One night after a storm had rattled the desert, Nita found him repairing her well, his shirt soaked with sweat, muscles taut under the fabric. Her pulse quickened, a mix of anger and something she dared not name. "What do you want from me?" she demanded, stepping close, her voice trembling. "You think because I'm alone, you can take what you please? My body? Is that it, cowboy?" The words hung in the air like thunder, raw and accusatory. Jack froze, his tools clattering to the ground. He turned to her, his face etched with surprise, then sorrow. "No, ma'am," he said softly, his eyes meeting hers without flinching. "I ain't here for that. Never was." He paused, wiping his hands on his pants, as if gathering the courage for words long buried. "Truth is, I saw you in town months ago, trading those hides. You carried yourself like a queen, even when folks whispered. Reminded me of my Sarah Strong, unyielding. But it ain't your body I want. It's your company, your stories. Hell, your laugh, if you'd let me hear it. I've been wandering these trails alone too long, and you make the silence bearable." Nita's breath caught, her knife forgotten in her hand. Tears welled in her eyes, unbidden and hot, tracing paths down her sun-kissed cheeks. No man had ever spoken to her like that, not even Chado, whose love was fierce but silent. Jack's words pierced the walls she had built, revealing a vulnerability she hadn't expected. "Why?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "Why me? I'm Apache." "You single, you." He stepped closer, but to offer a handkerchief from his pocket, stained but clean. "Because borders and blood don't matter out here. We're all just folks trying to heal." I lost my way after Sarah died, drank too much, fought too hard. But seeing you fight for this patch of dirt, it woke something in me. I want to build something real, Nita, not take from you." The tears came fully then, a flood she couldn't stem. They sat by the well as the stars emerged, sharing tales of loss and resilience. Nita spoke of Chato's bravery, of the raids that stole her family's land, of the ache that never fully faded. Jack listened, his own eyes glistening, recounting how Sarah's death left him hollow, chasing ghosts across the frontier. But in that sharing, a bridge formed fragile at first, but strengthening with each word. Challenges arose, as they always do in the wild. Word spread in town of the cowboy lingering at the Apache widow's home, stirring old prejudices. A group of ranchers, fueled by whiskey and fear, rode out one dawn, accusing Jack of going native and Nita of bewitching him. "This ain't right," their leader snarled, rifles glinting. "She'll drag you down, Harlan." Nita stood firm beside Jack, her knife drawn, ready to defend what little she had. But Jack, calm as the eye of a storm, faced them down. "Ain't your business what two broken souls do to mend," he said. "Ride on, or face the land me." The confrontation escalated into shouts, then a scuffle, but Jack's reputation as a sharpshooter held them at bay. One rancher swung a fist. Jack dodged and countered with a precise blow, sending the man sprawling. Nita, no stranger to fight, disarmed another with a swift kick to the knee. Together, they drove the intruders off, the desert swallowing their retreat. In the aftermath, as they bandaged scrapes under the noon sun, Nita realized this was no fleeting alliance. Jack had chosen her, not despite her heritage, but because of the strength it forged in her, yet deeper wounds lingered. Nita grappled with guilt betraying Chato's memory. Jack wrestled with his own demons, the bottle calling to him in quiet moments. One moonlit night, after a shared dance to the rhythm of a distant drum, a gift from Nita's traditions, she confessed her fears. "I thought you'd use me, like others tried." He held her hand then, the first true touch, gentle and reassuring. "And I thought I'd never feel again. But you showed me how." Their bond deepened through small acts. Jack learning Apache words, Nita riding with him to check traps. They faced a harsher trial when a flash flood ravaged her fields, washing away months of work. Despair threatened to drown her, but Jack rolled up his sleeves, rebuilding irrigation ditches side by side. "We rise together," he said, and in those words, Nita found hope anew. As seasons shifted, their story became legend in the whispers of the wind. Nita, once guarded, laughed freely now, her tears of sorrow replaced by those of joy. Jack found purpose beyond wandering, his heart anchored in the desert's embrace. They married under a canopy of stars, blending rituals, Apache blessings with a simple ring exchange, symbolizing unity in a divided world. In the end, as Nita looked back on that fateful day the cowboy rode in, she understood the profound truth. Love doesn't conquer by force, but by seeing the soul beneath the scars. It's in the unexpected connections, the willingness to listen and heal, that we find our truest strength. For anyone lost in loneliness, remember sometimes what we think is desire is really destiny calling us home. And in that home, we discover we're never truly alone.